Count Dooku is arguably one of the richest characters we've seen in Star Wars, but just how rich was he? And how much blood was shed for him to acquire this wealth? Settle in and get comfy because we're going to explore the true tyranny of Darth Tyrannus.
How could all of this belong to one person?
Just a warning, if you liked how he was depicted in Tales of the Jedi,
We serve the people of this republic.
this is certainly going to reveal just how evil he really was. Now, we can't ignore the fact that Dooku had a hand up in life, a rather big one. He was born into House Serenno, which was the ruling family of the planet Serenno. Now, of course, if your family rules a planet, then there's a lot of wealth that comes with that. However, Dooku couldn't take advantage of his family wealth until later on in life, which we'll get onto in a moment. And this was because he was actually abandoned by his parents whilst he was still very young. He began showing signs of force sensitivity, which his father didn't like and branded him a freak for it. Which then resulted in his own mother taking it upon herself to contact the Jedi Order for them to come and take the young Dooku away. The circumstances in which the Jedi found him when they came to pick him up are rather sad, which may have laid the foundations for the dark path he would one day walk. He was left by his mother outside of the family castle on the edge of a nearby forest without any clothing, food, or any way of even being identified. It was nothing short of a miracle that a Jedi Seeker found him before he froze to death or was feasted upon by the spine wolves which lived in the forest. Whilst Dooku's journey into the Jedi Order started at a really young age, his journey into wealth took a little longer. In fact, it wasn't until he was 12 years old that he really learnt about his own backstory and the royal bloodline he was a part of. A 12-year-old Dooku and his friend Sifo Dyas, accompanied by Jedi Masters Yoda, Sanube and Braylon, went on a trip that would one day return Dooku to the wealth in which he was born, and in return would also bestow a lot of death and destruction upon the galaxy. The Jedi Masters took the young Dooku and Sifo Dyas to Serenno to visit a galactic festival which was put on to show the Republic just what the Outer Rim territories had to offer, and this was being overseen by none other than Gora, the Count of Serenno, Dooku's father. Now, this for me was quite reckless from the Jedi Order to bring Dooku to a place in which he'd have a strong natural connection to, but also to bring him into such close proximity to the family which abandoned him. Maybe this was a test from the Jedi, regardless if it was or not, it certainly backfired. Dooku befriended a local girl on a planet called Jenza, and after they came into some trouble when a building collapsed around the pair, covering them in debris, Master Yoda came to their aid and helped free them, only for Gora to overhear Dooku's name being mentioned. This sent him into a fit of rage which was directed at Yoda. He never wished to see his son again, and was furious the Jedi brought Dooku back there and demanded they leave at once. After the incident, Yoda filled Dooku in on how the Jedi Order came to find him and how he was abandoned, extremely lucky to be alive. Unbeknown to his father or the Jedi Order, Dooku and his sister Jenza secretly kept in contact with one another throughout the years, effectively keeping a link open between the abandoned son and his powerful family. Over the years, he would often wonder what would have happened if he'd never become a Jedi. He would definitely be a whole lot richer because the teachings of the Order taught those to forgo attachment, which included the materialistic, such as Republic credits and wealth.
Attachment leads to jealousy. The shadow of greed, that is. Train yourself to let go of everything you fear to lose.
The Jedi during this time largely relied on funding from the Republic for their basic needs and requirements, whilst also receiving a great amount of goodwill from the general public during their travels. It could somewhat boost the reputation of a business if a Jedi was seen using their services. From the moment he was cast out from House Serenno up until 42 BBY, at 60 years old, Dooku was a part of the Jedi Order and effectively didn't have any assets to his name. Well, why would he? The way of the Jedi didn't require much, but this is where Dooku's story takes a huge twist. Back on Serenno, his younger brother, the second of Dooku's two siblings, who was now known as Count Rammel, a title passed down from his father Gora after his passing, which Dooku should have been next in line for, being the older brother by 2 years, orchestrated an invasion on his home world, allowing pirates to repeatedly raid Serenno in a bid to turn the people of Serenno against the Republic. He had mercenaries take control of the capital city Corania. Jenza, Dooku's sister, led a resistance group against her brother but was outgunned and outnumbered. Realizing she was fighting a losing battle and needed help, she called upon her brother and Jedi Knight Dooku for assistance. Once Dooku, a Jedi Master at this point, returned, the tables began to turn in their favour, eventually resulting in Dooku facing off against his own brother, where he ended up killing him and disabling his droid army, which resulted in an end to the conflict. Upon his brother's death, the title of Count of Sereno and the huge family fortune finally fell to Dooku himself, believing it was up to him to right his brother's wrongs and to help the people of Sereno, making him one of the wealthiest individuals in the galaxy, and from that moment onwards, he became known as Count Dooku.
Master Yoda.
Count Dooku.
But this was merely the first step on his road to unimaginable wealth, because he's going to need a lot more to fund the horrors that are set to follow. Becoming the Count of Sereno resulted in Dooku formally leaving the Jedi Order, and he informed Master Yoda of this decision directly, who in turn told Dooku that his choices were respected by the Jedi Council. After offering it back, Yoda also allowed Dooku to keep his lightsaber, telling him that being a Jedi meant more than a title. Dooku could still do good in the galaxy without being part of the Jedi Order. Oh Yoda, how wrong could you have been? Although no longer part of the Jedi Order, Dooku was still welcome at the Jedi Temple and at times would visit for meetings, and this is why he was there around the time Qui-gon faced off against Darth Maul on Tatooine. During the Phantom Menace. However, this is where another very lucrative but dark offer presented itself, a proposal from Palpatine, who saw the very wealthy and influential Count as the ideal person to lead a separatist movement against the Republic. Following this meeting with Palpatine, Dooku's wealth continued to climb to new heights, with the Count of Sereno and former Jedi Master using his growing political sway to strike deals with many of the galaxy's mega corporations, bringing him in on his plan to create a new governing body to replace the Republic. This became the Separatist Council, which in no time at all grew to govern a confederacy of thousands of star systems, which had all broken away from the Republic, sharing a common goal of establishing a new galactic power and authority. This was called the Confederacy of Independent Systems, or the CIS for short, with Dooku acting as the head of state. It's at this point where Dooku's wealth would skyrocket to all-time highs, but this was also alongside his inner darkness. In the time between Palpatine's initial suggestion of a separatist movement and the formation of the CIS, Dooku had fully pledged himself to the dark side and became Darth Sidious's next apprentice, Darth Tyrannus, replacing the believed to be deceased Darth Maul. Not only did Dooku have his own unimaginable wealth now to pull from, he also controlled the vast amounts of funds being pumped into his cause by thousands of star systems and the richest the galaxy had to offer. But these funds had a purpose. They weren't given to Dooku for him to go for lunch. This is where the blood really begins to pour. Unbeknown to anyone outside of the CIS, Dooku secretly commissioned the creation of a droid army, the largest droid army the galaxy had ever seen. And although the droid army weren't the sharpest tools in the box, they had the advantage of numbers whilst also being relatively cheap and easily produced. There's no comparison on the time it would take to manufacture a battalion of droids simply inserted with a basic AI required for them to go to war and follow orders, compared to how long it would take to train a soldier, or even the months it would take to grow a clone ready for action. As long as the funds were there, and they certainly were, and the materials were there, which they were because the droid factories were on CIS worlds, then they're good to go. Enter the start of the Clone Wars.
Begun. The Clone War has.
Whilst the total death toll of the Clone Wars has never officially been revealed, many have tried to work it out and the numbers proposed are high. At one point in his life, Dooku would have seen one casualty as being too many, but ultimately the richer Dooku became, the more powerful it made him, and the further he fell to the dark side, leading the CIS with a droid army, which resulted in him looting from less fortunate worlds and driving his own home planet into the ground, all to benefit his own self-interests.
You think Dooku funded his war effort by only stealing from outside worlds? No. He took from us, his own people. His quest for power is why our city is now buried in rubble.
Dooku became more like his brother Rammel than he ever realised. Perhaps it was always the Dooku family legacy to bring this level of destruction to the galaxy, in the process costing an untold amount of lives, all to ultimately benefit their own pocket and to help fund the war. It's another case of someone starting with the right intentions, but along the way losing sight of what they originally wanted to represent. Do you think Palpatine was responsible for Dooku turning out this way, or do you think it was going to happen regardless? Let me know down below. Remember to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, I'll catch you in the next one, and may the Force be with you.